Alright guys, it's been a while. I got the podcast microphone out just to see if that helps with audio quality. Also, this is somewhat important, this video will have two companion, maybe multiple companion videos on my Patreon on the $20 tier. Basically, I'm going to walk through what exactly I am doing with this golden path routine. So if you just want to see what I'm doing, that's a good way to find out. Otherwise, you can piece it together through all my other content elsewhere. Got it? Got it. Okay. Obviously, it's been a while since my last update. We have been quite busy at Leviathan. I talked about this in passing, but we got a pretty major marketing deal, and that's coming up real soon on completion. So I've been quite busy. Because of that, I have not been able to stick to this monthly log format. So forgive me, and besides, this is like watching paint dry, so significant results take time. We should probably have done this quarterly anyway, but you know, the content machine must keep going. Speaking of which, like and subscribe if you like my content. It is how I support myself in full right now. So if you like me, like the channel, subscribe, please. So it's probably a good idea to give a bit of a summary of what happened over the first couple months with the Golden Path. And it wasn't really aptly named because, as you all know, my affections and ideas change on a whim. So basically, this is just what I'm doing throughout the year to gain. Right now, I am gaining very fast, probably the fastest I have ever gained, and we'll get more into that in a bit. But originally, the plan was to prime the tunica, so that was with 5 minutes of heat, and then 50 tunica scrapes each side. So you take a gua sha blade, go up and down the shaft, 50 reps each side. BFR compressions or BFR massage, that was just slow, methodical massaging, just longer pressure point massage. And then cell stretch, and we'll touch more on that too in a bit. But basically, it was going to replace fatigue sets. I would get semi-erect, pull hard, relax, pull hard, relax, pull hard, relax over 5 to 10 minutes. That's because the idea was we were trying to put as much stretch on the stem cell. So if the tissue was already somewhat fully stretched before we stretch the penis further, we can get more stem cell activity. And there's a basic range that we want to be in. So the shorter, more violent sets leads to more stem cell activation because that kind of leads to more trauma to the tissue. And it's like a 1-to-1 ratio. But that's speculative, and we need more evidence of that moving forward. Now again, semi-erect bends also broke some cardinal rules of PE. Anything that put elongation under an erect penis, other than say pumping, was a higher risk of rupture. So we kind of shied away from that. So do as I say, not as I do, and probably don't practice semi-erect stretches unless you've been doing it for 6 to 8 months. Then, as part of normal PE, it was 30 minutes at 50 millimeters of tension with the Apex 1.0. The 2.0 came out. It now has brass guides for tension. So I would believe that was about 8 pounds at that current time. Also, this is a great device. Check it out at Massive Novelties if you have not got one already. Probably one of the best extenders on the market, if not the best. And then for expansion, we're doing 5 minutes of interval pumping, 2 minutes, no rest in between sets. You just pump up as you go. And then hypoxia stimulant, 10 minutes of BFR clamping every second session. So you'd skip every other session. So you would not do it one session, do it the following session. I'd do this every other day, my entire PE workload. Now, that rather complex routine caused me to gain just under 1/4 inch in a month. But when I first took my progress pictures, I was getting over RSV and my erection quality was limited. So take that with a grain of salt. But after about a month of doing that, I was up to about 8.4 on the ruler. But it could have been mostly erection quality. So if you follow my PE, you know that I recommend you take a break every 4 to 6 weeks. About a week off, treat it like a deload week with weightlifting. But if you're training every other day, that period seems to be longer before you need to take this deload to let that cumulative fatigue reset. So normally it'd be about 4 weeks in. I was able to not have to take a week off until about 6 to 8 weeks in, and that's when I noticed my erection quality start to drop. So I took a week off, but then, as I already talked about, that business deal came in, and it was pants on fire, get all this stuff done to make sure that you were ready for this potentially lucrative deal. So PE went on the back burner for a bit. That deconditioning break came to be about 2 to 3 weeks. So basically, most of March was no PE. So I ended March at about 8.3 on the roller. So not a huge deal, but we do not like to see backwards progress. No one does. Around this time, I had the retention theory revelation, which means that basically if you're a hard gainer, it's most likely because of a few reasons. One of them being that since you're a grower, you're going to be growing in this dense grower shape rather than this new elongated shape. So during that month, I would wear 12 ounces of fishing weights around my house and after my PE routines to just see how the efficacy worked. I was able to get back to about 8.5 in 2 weeks into April. So for when it comes to this retention stuff, most guys will see benefit from it is what I am seeing. It just some people will have more benefit than others. Then also about April, a new idea came on the scene, vibration theory, mainly from the company Foulback. You can check out my video on vibration, but essentially, vibration is really fucking cool. Alright? Vibration causes more fatigue to collagen fibrils. It also might have a direct response to, remember the cell stretch theory I was talking about? Causing more stem cell activity, as that's actually what's going to be laying more collagen proteins. So if that vibration shows more growth factors and shows more stem cell activation, it is going to lead to long-term faster results than just normal PE. This is where it gets complicated, is that Foulback promised some very crazy results in 3 months with no picture evidence. This caused some drama between me and the moderators on Reddit about this stuff, and I just had to give it a go for myself just to kind of prove a point that it's not the Foulback system that's so great, it is the vibration. I personally think how the Foulback is set up, it is over-engineered, and it's probably one of the reasons why it plateaus after 3 to 4 months. And there's some business practices I am very unhappy with, but that's for a whole nother video. But naturally, I dropped everything that I was doing and implemented a routine based off of vibrations. So the cool thing about vibrations is that it's going to basically be micro-stretching the tissue the entire time. So we do not need fatigue sets. We will not need tunica malleability because it's basically going to be imposed onto the tissue no matter what. We're talking 2,400 micro repetitions a minute. There is no way we could generate the same amount of fatigue in the same amount of time with manuals or even with a typical device on its own. Now, I already talked about this a bit. If I was going to copy Foulback, I'm going to do it my own way because I think their way is very over-engineered. So, I just got my Apex. I got a $30 DIY massage chair engine. This is rated for 3,800 RPMs. I turned it to about 60% power, which would get me roughly 2,400 RPM or 40 Hertz, which shows efficacies in studies. I would just strap it to my penis, and I would just let it go for 30 minutes, keeping the tension at about 10 to 12 pounds. Lately, I've been inching up to 15 because I went to taping, more on that in a bit. But part of the reasons why vibrations let you do more weight is because it literally numbs the nerves. And part of that numbing sensation actually relaxes the collagen too, because the fascia, the tunica actually, is not as tense because the nerves are not receiving signals, so it kind of just goes limps and ragdolls like it would in a video game. So it makes it much easier to stretch, and that's why I've been able to get such more elongation than I would typically with vibration, just because it causes the nervous system to relax and it causes those micro repetitions. So between those two things, we are seeing a much faster elongation and even more elongation post-session. For example, we're getting a bit into spoiler territory, but I was like 9 7/16 stretched flaccid this morning before my session. After my session, we were 9 3/4. Okay? Like, I know those numbers sound nutty. Let me just check. What? Does anyone else hate the calculator on Microsoft? It is absolutely awful. So, before my session, 9 7/16 this morning. Again, crazy ass number. Post 9 3/4 for a fatigue for a fatigue rate of 3.31%. This is actually lower than what I was getting originally. I was getting upwards of 4% with vibrations. And this is why it is so fucking good, in my opinion, is because it cuts down on how much work you need to do. It would take me an hour or two to get to that fatigue rate. If I can do it in 30 minutes, I have saved so much time. And then you add on the added benefits that it might actually be signaling faster growth. It is potentially a game changer. And I don't want to, I have no credit for this. I did not come up with the idea. But I hope it works out as well as Fallback says it does. My numbers are showing slightly less gain rate than they do, but it's more or less because they are using new people that potentially have disease such as prostate cancer or diabetes-induced erectile dysfunction, which is going to skew the numbers in that way. So a healthy individual probably will not gain nearly as much as these guys on the Fallback webpage. And again, don't believe anything about photo pictures. Speaking of which, you can find the photos of my results on my new blog. Link in the description below. Okay, back to the script. Now, another side note about vibrations, there was some talk on the Reddit before I left it that either you do vertical or horizontal. If you're trying to do length, you hold it vertical because the motor's spinning this way, therefore it's going to be vertical. Yeah, I get it. That doesn't really make sense to me either. So this would be horizontal vibrations. I have been doing nothing but horizontal vibrations, and I have gained about 1/4 of an inch in, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks with vibration straight. So I guess more spoilers. It would seem like vibration axis does not matter, because if it's going to be vibrating the collagen fibrils in the extender, it's still going to be causing the oscillate, and that's what's going to cause the bonds to break up. Additionally, you're having that nervous system activity, and I don't think stem cells really know what axis they're on, so it really wouldn't matter since they're just kind of blobs of liquid. It would not really matter how the orientation of the device matters. And another quick note, I see this on the Reddit a lot, please do not use a massage gun. Again, I know I'm a very large guy, but that little bullet point basically hitting the tissue is not going to cause the same kind of vibration, entire shaft effect as something as big as this. Granted, this is I guess it's a little smaller than I thought. It's 4 1/8 or 4 1/4 if you include the ends itself. So most guys probably will have issues getting something that big on, but the massage gun is going to be very localized, while something like that, which has 2 motors, is going to be all over the shaft. If I were you, look for a smaller version of this before you use the massage gun. So this channel is basically a live journal, right? It makes it very hard to know what I actually think is the best way to grow your penis. That is why I have written my books, BD's Big Book of Length and Girth Expansion Pack. Essentially, it takes what I've learned over the past 2 or 3 years and throws out everything that was speculative, and it's only the proven stuff that works, at least from a scientific perspective. So if you're struggling to follow along here on this YouTube, it might be worth your while. So what am I currently doing? I literally threw out most of my routine just because of how effective the massage chair engine, the vibration engine has been. I am doing 30 minutes of vibration extending and trying to keep the weight constant at about 10 pounds. Now, I've switched over to taping instead of using the lotion method because I did get a few blisters, and instead of, being cautious and just taking time off, I just taped over the blisters. No real issues, just have some pock marks on my glands still. Anyway, I've been continuing to use tape, and I've been able to do 15 pounds of tension for about 10 to 20 minutes, and then I'd work my way back down to 10. I've been getting pretty damn close to the tip of this. So this is where it would be sitting normally at the end of my session. So let's see. And okay, so that doesn't really mean much, right? But I'm running out of room on the apex because of vibrations right now, okay? And I didn't think that would be happening anytime soon, but let's get back to the routine. So as I already said, we're doing 2,400 micro stretches a minute. It is going to be next to impossible to not fatigue the tissues using that, unless the device is not actually on your dinger. Speaking of which, I'm wrap this in a sock, and then I put a sock over my shaft as well. That is to make sure that there's no propensity for abrasions. I used to do it raw. After a week, I had little cuts at the base because of the rubbing. It's very touch and go. Another thing, I tried higher power vibrations. So this goes all the way up to here. This is 3,800 RPM, roughly 65 hertz. I believe I saw a study that shows 60 hertz shows collagen contraction. We do not want that. So I've been setting my how do you say it? Whatever this little dial's called, to about 60%, which is going to get me roughly 2,400 RPM. One thing that needs to be improved on is an actual dial that actually shows hertz. Wonder who's working on that. Anyway, now, do not use heat whatsoever. At least not yet, because basically, since we're doing micro stretches, if you're using a vacuum extender or vacuum hanger, you can do this hanging, by the way, you're going to cause a lot of little abrasions on your skin, and that heat makes it much easier for the skin to basically separate, and that's what's going to cause that blister. And that's how I got my blisters, because I was trying to use heat while using this. So heat's cool and all, but like if you're trying to like try this out, don't use heat yet, please. Like, fair warning. Now, I've also been pumping. I'm not going to pull out my pump right now because it's a little dirty. This is the Peak Mel Physique Auto Pump. You can get it a few other places, including Massive Novelties right now. But essentially, I just use this, set it for 10 minutes, and then interval pump, the smart mode, set it for 2 minutes, and go. Basically, wherever I have slight discomfort is the target pressure. So that could be anywhere from 20 kilopascals to 33 kilopascals. It just really depends on how fatigued that tissue is. For me, the more work I do in length, the less work or the less pressure I can use for pumping. I mean, it just really depends how you're built for that. Now, the main few side effects from this vibration stuff is for about 5 to 10 minutes, you will be numb afterwards because you're like doing sensory overload to the specific nerves of the tissue. It's just going to take 10 minutes for everything to come back online, essentially. And as I already mentioned, you want to protect the skin. Socks work very well for this. Now, during this time, in my original trial of this vibration stuff, I got this blister, and then I went on vacation the week following after recovery. So I was unable to do length work for 2 to 3 weeks in May. And it kind of skews my results to be less effective than it probably actually is. I still took the vibration engine with me. I took my penis pump to Cancun. Yes, it's not that hard to travel with dick stuff. Just put it in your checked luggage rather than your carry-on luggage. Even then, you can probably put in your carry-on luggage, just don't make it look like a bomb in your suitcase, okay? Anyway, I would do about 15 minutes of vibration-based pumping, so just with the vibration motor, and like I would go from like 6 to 6.5 in 10 to 15 minutes, and there'd be like no edema whatsoever. It would last the entire time. My wife bought me some really tiny-ass swimming suits, and I was getting some looks on the beach. So it's very effective, and it does stick around for quite some time. So let's go over the actual results. February, 8.25. March, 8.5. April down to about 8.3. May back up to 8.5. June, 8.75. Don't believe me? Check out the pictures in the description below. This puts my current growth rate at 1.1%. The main thing that has slowed me down has been injury and time away from PE. Imagine if I was able to get all of March and all of May in. That would have been like 20% more time for work. Now, granted, I've been preaching that you don't need as much time as we thought to get good results with PE, but it's more or less, I could have saw better results if I was able to give it 100% this entire year. My cock is already huge, but unfortunately my wallet takes precedence, so I've been focusing much more on my business. I think most of you guys would do the same thing, even if your business was based off of how big your dick is. Anyway, I guess we can do a quick physique update. I mean, it might be a bit obvious in the camera, but I have leaned out and gained a lot of muscle mass back up in my upper body. I've lost a lot of fat since February. It's been ticking up slightly because I've been eating like a pig. But for the most part, I'm in a much better position than when I first started all of this nonsense. When I first started the linear challenge. Right now I'm about 223. I'd go up to about 226 if I'm eating like an asshole. But for the most part, I've been consistently doing fasted cardio in the morning, and I still do my weightlifting, and that's been helping me recomp slowly. My goal is to actually have abs at some point this year, but I'm not really going to push it because like I'd rather be at top performance when it comes to handling all this business stuff rather than being shredded and feeling like shit for the rest of the year. So I look good. I got looks at the beach, and that's really all that matters to me, is that I feel comfortable in my own skin. As for future plans, I'm still going to work with vibrations until it shows less results than my normal PE routines. But as of right now, it's going to be very hard to beat that. We're talking 1/4 of an inch in a month. Well, like a month of time with it. So we're talking about 1/4 of an inch in a month. Granted, this is not as good as what Foulback is saying, but I'm telling you, you can do this for $30 with your existing equipment instead of renting a $20,000 device rental that you can't even keep. So that's kind of the point of the rental. I don't even know why I said that, but anyway, I still need to work on the actual routine that goes along with it. I tried 7 days straight, and I just noticed a lot of fatigue and actually a little bit of erectile dysfunction, but that could have been stress induced. And yes, this is despite being on Cialis, so you have to be careful. Speaking of Cialis, I went up from 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams. A guy of my size can support a little bit more Cialis without adverse side effects. You also build a slight bit of tolerance, particularly for me. I have a very narrow nasal cavity, if you couldn't tell by how nasally my voice is. So if there's any swelling whatsoever, Cialis causes sinus swelling as a side effect. It makes it very hard for me to breathe, so I had to work up to these higher doses. I would not say that it really needed to be that much higher, but like I do notice a slight difference between 5 milligrams and 10 milligrams. It really depends on your body size and like how sensitive you are to Cialis. That's why you should probably get it from a doctor. For supplements, let's see, I was on Sustanch, Damenia, Fortitude, Safeguard, Shield, Virility, Vitality. So I was like on a whole bunch of stuff. I started developing gastro reflux, but that could have been from the amount of energy drinks I've been drinking lately and something else that I've also been taking that I'd rather not say on camera. So I've taken all this stuff out. I've felt much better, and I'm slowly adding stuff back in. Right now we're starting with Fortitude and Safeguard. When it comes to like taking pictures and stuff, Virility actually makes it quite annoying because it makes me leak so much. So I have to stop and start a lot to wipe away semen. So it makes it very hard to log the stuff with having Virility in my system. And again, I know it sounds like a plug for supplements and all that. And let's be real, it kind of is. But like, I would not be promoting this stuff if I did not think it works so well. Other thing that I still do is I take Vigor once to twice a day, once before my actual gym workout, and then once in the evening, usually before sex. And like all other daily habits for me, like taking a bunch of pills is very hard for me to stick to just because I guess I have a variant of ADHD and I just can't do those little tasks. But I'm going to strive to be better on that this following month. And I also need to add back in retention. This has all been without retention. With retention, I don't know how much it's going to help me because like I'm a pretty big shower, but for just the sake of completion, I will try my best to add in 2 to 4 hours of retention throughout the day. Right now it's just hard because it's like summer, obviously, and it makes it very hard to be out of the house with this or a leg strap with my shorts on. So it may be a winter thing to actually test out retention in full, but like the science is there. I've already added it to my books. That's how much I believe in retention. So in conclusion, I've hoping to gain 9 inches by the end of this year. Like it's right there. If I hit it by the end of July, I'm already a month ahead. that would put me 3 months ahead. So if I can do that, I'm going to be a very happy man, and we'll go from there when it happens. But so by December, I want to be a 9 1/4, which would be about a 1/2 inch from where I'm at now. Could I do that in 6 months? For sure, even with normal PE. With vibrations, am I going to crush that? It's quite possible, so just stay tuned, and I will let you know in the next one. Again, guys, I'm sorry how long it took me to get to this. It's still probably going to be another week before this is actually published, because I got to do some of the companion videos, send this off to my editor, and then find a good place to put all these pictures yet. So forgive me. Rest assured, though, I am still working on penis enlargement a lot. Okay, we're just scratching the surface of how effective all this stuff can be. And I'm glad that I could actually help you guys along the way with this stuff. So I'll see you in the next one.